Let's talk about public sector pay, should we, and the minimum wage ahead of the budget tomorrow. Hello, Paul Scully is here with us, the Business Minister. Hello to you, thanks for joining us on the programme. It's always great to see you. Rishi Sunak said, last November, I think I'm right in saying, that he couldn't justify a public sector pay increase. What has changed in the last 12 months?
I think we've, it's given us the gap to allow for the public sector finances public finances to be looked at in the whole. Now we've got a better picture of where we are in terms of the recovery, having put £352 billion worth of support into protecting jobs and livelihoods. He now has that better picture to look forward and make sure that having had the public sector pay gone up previously ahead of private sector pay, it started to equalise, and now he can give all of those public sector workers who do an amazing job a pay rise.
How much?
Well, that will be determined by the pay review body. So the nurses have their pay review bodies, police, etc. They each have their individual pay review bodies who will report back to him. But I think what it does...
You don't always take notice of those, do you?
Well, it gives them a signal. It gives them a signal that the Chancellor is, is keen to give people a rise. So they will then take that into account as they look for to what should be an appropriate rise for public sector, given the public finances as well. They can report back, and the Chancellor... But
you don't always take notice of what they say, do you?
We tend to. We try to.
You don't always.
We try to, but it's a review body. We look to them to provide us evidence, and then we'll make our decision. But we tend to keep as aligned as possible. But as I say, the Chancellor has signalled that very clearly, and so when we will look favourably when the pay review bodies report to make sure we get that pay rise.
Let's look at it in a different way then. Inflation could hit 4% this year, so they're going to get at least that.
I think it's... Well, look, I can't tell you, because, as I say, that's exactly
what... It's a pay cut,
well, that's what the pay review bodies will do. I mean, I can't preempt what they're going to do. I can't preempt what the Chancellor's going to say.
But you said now's the time to give them a pay rise. And inflation could hit 4%, so unless it's more than 4%, it's a pay cut. Well,
look, I think, as I say, we will see where we are come next April, when the review bodies have paid. What we've done, though, have reported, what we've done in the just yesterday, the Chancellor and the Treasury were announcing the national living wage increase of 6.6%. So I think that is a generous but balanced approach to the lowest paid in our society to make sure that businesses can still recover.
Generous but balanced, but it doesn't come anywhere near the cut in universal credit of £1,000.
It's a gross increase of £1,000 a year, and what we're doing is 6%. Well, that depends on the circumstance of the person and how many hours they're working.
Let me help you out. IFS Paul Johnson, director of, says it's about 250 quid.
It depends on how many hours those people are working. So he's made one assumption. He's made one assumption, but it will literally depend on some people maybe part-time on that, some people full-time, some people and how many hours.
So some people it'll be 250.
Nonetheless, it's what you've got to look at. 6.6% is something that it continues our reach to making sure that the national living wage by 2024 is 2/3 of average median wage, so ending low pay, but not stifling the growth and the recovery of businesses that are paying that living wage, because we want to make sure that, as I say, we can balance it between employers and those workers that really need that money. You're
talking about businesses. Let's look at business rates then. Should we? Where are we as far as that is concerned? Tinkering around the edges again is what I read an article this morning in Business Leader saying that 15,000 outlets have gone, and tens of thousands of jobs have been lost directly as a result of you not sorting out business rates.
I'm not sure where the tinkering around comes, though. You'll have to wait for the fundamental business rates review, which has been taken into account
into the long grass 4 times already.
Well, it's due to report this autumn, and I say
I think definitely.
Well, that is, again, it sits with Treasury, so we'll see what the Chancellor says on Wednesday if he has any indication about that. But I'm the hospitality minister and the retail minister, so clearly I hear from those businesses who are on the high street, who are most affected by business rates, about their concerns, which I've reflected to Treasury. But as I say, the word is fundamental. We do know that business rates needs to adapt to the 21st century to make sure that we get the balance right between high street bricks and mortar and online shops, and that will be taken into account.
OK, so just to clarify, it's been batted away 4 times. You still can't tell me whether it's going to be looked at this autumn. inflation is going to be 4%, but you can't tell me whether a pay rise is going to be more than that for public sector workers. And as far as universal credit is concerned, that was £1,000 that's been cut, and some people might only get 250 despite the national living wage. Is that what we're saying?
Well, look, let's take that last one.
Let's take all of them.
Well, OK, fine, but I can go through all of them. You know, pay review, as I said, the bodies need to report before we.
But it could be a pay cut. You acknowledge that it could be a pay cut.
Well, it could be anything. We need to see.
4%.
Well, it could be anything. We need to see what the pay review bodies say. Well, it could literally.
It literally couldn't be.
It's anything. The pay review bodies.
4% is what inflation is going to be, unless it's higher than 4%. It's going to be a pay cut.
First of all, you're making the assumption about inflation. Let's see where we get to that.
If inflation is 4%, it needs to be higher than 4%.
We're also making a review.
Do you acknowledge that?
We're also making an assumption on what the pay review bodies will say. Let's see what the pay review bodies will say. But what the Chancellor has done, he's indicated that he wants to make sure that he can give the public sector
than the rate of inflation,
he can end the freeze.
Cut.
He's going to end the freeze.
I'm not very good at maths, but I've figured that one out.
No, yeah, but this is all speculation. What I'm saying is that the
let's not say 4% then. Let's say whatever the rate of inflation is, unless the pay review body comes in with higher, it's going to be a pay cut, isn't it?
So, well, that's just basic maths. But let's see.
Right.
But let's just see what the pay review body says in the first.
Let's talk again about the national living wage then, because as I said, the director of the IFS, Paul Johnson, says that to some people, the new figures will mean that they're taking home an extra £250 and they're losing £1,000 with universal credit. So that's also a pay cut.
But you are, again, first of all, you're only taking one thing there, because for the people that are... I talked about the fact that £200 depends on what the £250 depends on what their circumstances are, how many hours they're working.
But you acknowledge that some people will be impacted by that.
But then on top of that, for the lowest paid, we have the household fund that was announced by the Chancellor that is being delivered by local authorities to those most at need. We have the energy price cap. We have the increased free childcare allowances that we've built up over the last few years. All of these things have a suite of measures to help the people most in need. So just taking that one emergency measure, the universal credit uplift that came to the end as the emergency started to recede. Well, it's reversed, basically. But nonetheless, as I say, that was then replaced by a £500 million household fund to target it at those most in need, because we've talked about the fact that the national living wage...
So you're saying that people are going to be better off next year?
What I'm saying is that we are increasing, but for the most vulnerable, the lowest paid in society, their living wage by 6.6%. What we don't want to do is build a recovery based on the backs of those people that are lowest paid in our society. So getting that balance right to make sure that we don't stifle the recovery by choking businesses. So
you're saying people are going to be better off next year?
What I'm saying is that they're going to get 6.6% pay rise. Well, I can't make those assumptions in terms of inflation and other costs at this moment in time. What I am going to say is their pay packets are going to go up by 6.6% if they're on the national living wage at the moment. OK. The Leader of the House of Commons, the Speaker, I should say, very cross with the Chancellor, saying, what about all these leaks in the budget? Why am I not hearing about this in the Chamber for the first time tomorrow? Yeah, well, I'm sure the Chancellor will answer that, but I think it's important that that people know these concerns, have a chance to digest them, to debate them, to talk about them over the last few days, as they clearly have done. So you're casting out for people's opinion? No, I think it's no, because the announcement's there. The announcement's been made. What I'm saying is that I think it's important for people like yourself to actually be able to discuss that with me. So is this the way we're going to do it going forward? Others. Well, I'm not the Chancellor, so I don't know. Is the honest answer.
Do you think it's a good idea?
I'm just telling you. I think having the discussion about these sort of things, making sure that the people on the national living wage, for example, don't miss out on seeing some of the detail because it's lost in a massive budget document. Oh, I'm sure they know if they're struggling with the pay packet. Absolutely. I'm sure they are. But they will also see some of the other things. They will see some of the other things that are available to them as well that sometimes get lost. Will you be wearing a mask for the budget? I'm not sure if I'm in the chamber for the budget. If you are, but it depends on how crowded it is. It's going to be packed. Yeah, in that case, which is why I might not be in the chamber, because I've got. And if you are, and it's packed, will you be wearing a mask? If it's absolutely where I have been in a room or an area where it has been absolutely rammed, then I wear a mask. I wear a mask in the cab on the way here. I wear a mask on the tube, on the trains.
Because all your colleagues don't tend to, or many of your colleagues don't tend to, do they?
I think the signal is for people to, we've been locked down for 18 months and the government have been telling people what to do for 18 months. What we have said to people now, use your common sense, use your own initiatives, make your own informed decisions. We know that we're living with COVID. And so that this doesn't just suddenly go away overnight. So it's really important that we allow people to make those informed decisions and be respectful for other people as well around them.
It's going to look a bit weird, isn't it, when all the Labour benches have all got their masks on and lots of the Tory benches don't. Sending a mixed message, isn't it, to the public, as usual?
I think the message is that, as I say, make your decisions for yourselves.
OK, but you accept that it's mixed messages if half the House has got masks on and the other
Well, look,
hasn't?
it depends where you want to go to. If you want government to be dictating to you every minute of the day, that's one thing.
Is it a mixed message?
It's a message that you can use your own use your own initiative, make your own decisions.
Good to talk to you. Thanks so much indeed for joining us on the programme.